Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what you'll think about Mr. Kane. I can't imagine. You see, I play the part myself. Well, Kane is a hero and a scoundrel, a no-account, a swell guy, a great lover, a great American citizen, and a dirty dog. It depends on who's talking about him. What's the real truth about Charles Foster Kane? I wish you'd come to this theater when Citizen Kane plays here and decide for yourself.
Welcome to the Little Miss Movies podcast, where two movie-obsessed parents make their 10-year-old watch movies she'd never watch otherwise. This is episode number 2, Citizen Kane.
I am Christina. I am a librarian and a film classic movie biographer, and I am a mother of one amazing kid.
And I am Josh. I am a TV writer and writer of other things. And I am also the father of one. I mean, she's okay, I think.
Why? Why? Just why? I'm more than okay.
One embarrassed kid, I suppose.
Yeah.
Really?
And you are?
I'm Gable. I'm in 5th grade. And I'm in Girl Scouts, and I like to write and read and do schoolwork, which lots of kids say that they don't like it.
And do you want to explain, Gable, do you want to explain what we are forcing you to do?
Well, my parents are forcing me to watch movies that I would never watch otherwise, except for maybe one of the other ones that we did in our last podcast episode. I don't know what you're supposed to call it, but yeah, so I'd never watch any of them, so we were doing different movies, and since we have this like poster thing where it has movies on it, and so that kind of helped start it. So we're doing movies off of that, and my parents wanted to talk to them about them, so they said maybe we can do it in a podcast form.
And that's why
he was busy during quarantine, and that is what this podcast is.
That's what this podcast
that is.
And the movie you referenced from last time that you would watch is what? Jaws. Although I don't think you would have ever watched Jaws had it not been for us.
If I was like older, then maybe I would have.
Maybe you would have. And the poster that you're talking about is it's a poster of 100 must-see movies, and it's a scratch-off poster.
Yeah, so it's like each square for each movie has like a little bit of the full picture in it, and it has something to do with the movie, of course. And then once you watch it, then you scratch off the rest of it and you can see the full picture. So like, for example, the Jaws one was a triangle for the fin, and you scratch it off and you see the shark and the boat.
So, and we'll throw up links after with the episode. There'll be links to where you can buy one for yourself.
Yeah.
That I don't think we make any money on, but it's really
we
poorly,
make no money on it,
very poorly conceived. Really just not thinking things through.
But we just want to help people watch amazing movies. Although I think once we get to the years where the rating system entered the picture and the production code goes away,
it's mostly just kid show. It's like kid ones like Toy Story and stuff.
Then I'm doing it entirely for the money at that point. We're forcing her to watch dirty movies, essentially.
We're forcing her to watch Midnight Cowboy and Platoon.
But at the end, It's mostly just like movies that every kid should watch, like Toy Story and Star Wars.
You already saw it. Those don't count. Like we're going for the deep. We're going for the deep ones.
But I still gotta scratch them off. So yay.
Yeah. And just to clarify, I think they put Empire Strikes Back on that poster, not the first Star Wars.
Which you're depressed about that?
No, I'm okay with that.
You would rather it was A New Hope, though.
No, I can appreciate it. I'm down with Empire.
To see that there is only one most important movie.
Actually, you narrowed it down to 3, and then I chose one based on the commercials.
That's true. That's really take some of the steam out of the intro, but sure.
I don't care.
Oh, thank you.
I like telling the truth on podcasts or whatever.
That's what's going to happen.
She keeps us honest.
Yes,
she keeps it 100. Call it keeping it 100, honey.
Yes, I will.
Well, I mean, the exercise with showing you the 3 trailers for the 3 different movies was, to really vet if you were ready to watch what is arguably the most important American film.
And so so the 3 trailers we showed her were for Sunset Boulevard,
Philadelphia Story,
and Citizen Kane. And now, inexplicably, because the Citizen Kane trailer has nothing to do with the movie, is essentially just like glamour shots of the actors with Orson narrating. She picked that one.
Yes, she did.
She did not go for the wacky good time that we expected of.
Yeah, I thought Philadelphia Story went hands down.
I don't remember. I just think that the one that Citizen Kane sounded the most interesting. I don't really know why. I just think it sounded the most interesting out of the three.
So we sat down with a beautiful Blu-ray copy of Citizen Kane, and what are your impressions of Citizen Kane?
What are your impressions? Without let's not go into the end yet. And
we're going to say what happens at the end.
We can.
There will be spoilers.
There will be spoilers.
Forewarning, if you have not seen Citizen Kane, do not continue listening until you've seen it.
Yeah, so for some reason you're listening to a podcast about two cinephiles forcing their kid to watch movies and haven't seen Citizen Kane.
Pause this podcast right now and go and find it, like a Blu-ray or something, and watch it, and then come back and finish.
Well, you should tell them why they should go see it instead of just telling them to go see it.
And I will say, but before we hear your impressions, I mean, since the day you were born, so Josh and I are very big Orson Welles fans. We're huge Orson Welles fans in our house, and I have no problem calling Citizen Kane the greatest movie. I'm one of those people that will not argue it. I have seen it. I don't even know how many times I've seen it. I absolutely love it. I could sit down and watch it anytime. So since the day I think I found out I was having a kid, I really looked forward to when I could watch Citizen Kane with you. And, for many years, my goal was at 8 years old, I was hoping I could show it to you. And we probably could have watched it when you were 8, but I'm glad we held out for a couple more years and watched it when you were 10. And so what was before we don't talk about the end yet, but what did you think about it? What was your impression while you were watching it?
It was really mysterious. I didn't know what would happen because it's a mystery, of course. And it's like, I thought at first I was like, before we started watching, I was like, oh, they're totally gonna find out what happens. And then when we were watching, I was like, okay, they're totally not gonna find out what happened at the end.
What is the actual story? Can you tell what the story is, just in a simple way?
So it's an old guy dies. I forgot his name.
Kane.
That would be
the
sorry.
That would be the
Kane.
Title character.
Citizen Kane.
I know it's Kane. I just forgot his first name and everything.
Charles Foster.
Charles Kane, yeah. So he dies and he mutters the word rosebud right before he dies, and he's holding a snow globe that shatters, and so his newspaper company is trying to figure out what rosebud means. So they go on this wild goose chase of everybody who knew Charles Foster Kane or they had any kind of relationship to him. And they kind of found out, they were just this is, we're never going to find out. It's just pieces of a puzzle that's, it's unfinished, and Rosebud is the unfinished piece. They literally say that. So then they just kind of don't do anything about it. And they're just we're never going to find out. So we're just going to drop it right now. And then they're going through his stuff.
Well, and so have you ever seen a movie?
Ending happens.
Have you ever seen a movie that's sort of structured like this? Or do you want to talk about how it's structured? Do you want me to talk about how it's structured?
Yeah, you get to talk about how it's structured.
So I think I'm pretty sure it's the first time there was ever a movie kind of done like this. It's actually similar. It's kind of similar to how Wells did War of the Worlds. It has this very documentary feel to it. You're watching a movie, but what you're actually watching is a reporter talking to various characters about different points in Kane's life. So you're seeing these little snippets of who he was, and you're getting point of view cinema. You're learning how this person saw who he was and how this person knew who he was. And because of that, because you're seeing all these different people's point of views, you're not actually getting the whole story of who he is. You're getting the whole story, but you're also getting none of the story. And it's, what's one of the things that, why I always kind of connected to Orson as a director, and specifically even to this movie, is that what you're watching is a thing that would inspire not just American movies, but art films across the world. So the things that he does in that movie by just completely flipping how you tell a story, it sort of opened up all of the toolbox for what you can do to tell sort of a quote unquote traditional story in a non-traditional way. So like I can name hundreds of movies that use those techniques afterwards,
but not any before.
I really don't think I really don't.
I don't know. I don't want to definitively say, but he certainly took aspects, I think, of like world cinema up until that point.
And wasn't it Citizen Kane that created that like new camera technique?
Yeah, there's a bunch of technical stuff. The big one was the diopter, which is essentially two lenses in one. Because he really, Orson really wanted to kind of do the thing that you can't do on film that you can do in theater, which is to have two characters who are in two different places, essentially. Where you
have like them in two different places, and it goes kind of in and out of focus, where it has like one character kind of in front, or one character, and they're like in different spaces, but then you have it go from one character is in focus, but the other character is blurred.
Well, you could do that. So that was actually doable. Like racking focus. That's called racking focus, where you're actually adjusting the focal length of the lens. That was something you could do. What you couldn't do is to have both of them in focus.
Oh.
So what you see in the movie, and it's neat. There's one shot in particular where Kane. I think Kane's is in the background, and his buddy is in the front, and it's after when his buddy's drunk and they've just had their big fight about the review, and what happens is it starts on the buddy, and then it racks focus to Kane, and then it racks focus again for both of them being in shot, and it's a thing where you're just like, it doesn't make any sense, sort of filmically, because that's not the language of those movies, and as much as I love cinema from back then, again, like, other than maybe the German expressionists and Fritz Lang and all those movies, there wasn't really anybody doing stuff like that. And even Fritz Lang, like, he was doing it in movies like Metropolis, and showing how to, even M to some degree, where he was doing these sort of like unique kind of takes on what it was. But those were very, very like stylized, specific movies. Kane at its heart is like it's just a Hollywood movie. Like, it's not a particularly like art film focused, like, it's literally it was a Hollywood blockbuster that didn't quite bust blocks, but still.
Yeah, and while we were watching, we watched a lot of movies with you over the last couple of years. And a lot of the time we'll be watching movies and we'll need to pause to explain things to you. I think Maltese Falcon comes to mind.
Maltese Falcon, we pause like every 5 minutes.
Yeah. I felt like with Citizen Kane, we didn't have to...
paused it like 2 times.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't have to pause it a whole lot. And I think when we were pausing, it was because we were like explaining like the technical innovations.
Or because I was going inside to grab like popcorn or something.
Or that, yes. She's honest to a fault.
Yes, I am.
But it held your attention, though.
Mm-hmm.
The movie did hold your attention.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because you really, like, again, we don't have to talk about the twist ending yet, but you, at the end of the movie, you really liked it. Like, you came out of it and you were pretty thrilled.
I don't know how to explain why I liked it without talking about the ending.
But I have to say, I always knew what the ending was. I mainly blame Julie Brown, the song, The Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun. I don't know if you remember that song. She gives it away. And like, that was the first time I ever heard of Citizen Kane, was in that song. And she totally gives away the ending. So, and I was your age when that song came out. So I always knew what it was. I always knew how that movie was going to end. And so to be able to watch it with somebody who knew nothing about this movie going in and who didn't know the end, and to see your reaction, which your reaction was priceless. It was wonderful. It was so wonderful, and it made me so happy, and it made me a little bit angry at Julie Brown for ruining Citizen Kane for me.
For singing that
back
song.
in the 80s, yes. It is a great song.
For singing that song, like...
Yeah, it is a great song, but...
Singing that song 40 years ago or whatever?
Yeah, not quite 40 years ago.
I don't know.
Oh, God, it is like
I can't do
35.
any math right now.
No.
All right, well, we can move into spoiler territory if you're interested in watching Citizen Kane and you have never seen it before.
If you're
this is it.
interested and have not watched it, then stop right now and go and watch the movie if you don't want to get the ending spoiled.
Okay, so we'll sit here for just a second, just in
You
case.
go and pause this and go and watch your movie.
Okay, all right, everybody back? Cool. So
I
Gable,
guess everybody's back.
let's talk about the ending.
So they're going through all his stuff and they're like burning all the stuff that they think is worthless. And they find his old. So the newspaper reporter pieces together that's either something that he never had, the Charles Kane never had, or he lost because he lost a lot of things. But he also there's some things that he never had, so they're burning a lot of his stuff, and we go into and they're burning a sled from his childhood, and on it says Rosebud. And Rosebud is something that he lost. And it was triggered by the snow globe that he was holding. Because it was like snow. This was something that he lost because it got left behind.
And
earlier in the movie.
And you were pretty blown away.
I thought the movie was just going to end okay, they're never going to figure it out at the end.
I mean, did you find it, did it, aside from being a shocking twist, did it change your feeling about the characters?
No.
No?
What did you think of him?
I think he was kind of, I feel like he kind of was stuck up by the end. He was just kind of he wanted everything to be happy and perfect. And he just kind of did what he wanted, and he didn't really take in what anybody else did. He didn't care about what what damage got left behind. I'm talking about one scene in particular when I say that.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah, that one scene.
And when you're saying he wanted everything to be happy and perfect, how
how
did he think he could make it happy and perfect?
By I think by giving himself and his wife everything that they wanted.
By buying it.
Yeah, by just buying it.
Right?
Because he can't. But the problem with that is you can't buy happiness. You can't buy perfection or anything.
Yeah.
Nothing's perfect. So there's kind of nothing. So he just kind of thought that he could do that. And I think he was just kind of snooty at the end, and then he just got really depressed.
Yeah. Did you like him, or
no?
Yeah.
No.
Did you feel like he went from likable to unlikable?
Yeah.
Or is it where do you think he starts to change?
I think he started to change when he got when the person picked him up at the beginning of his life. I think that because then he was kind of pampered. Got everything he wanted. I think that's kind of when he was well, I have a lot of money now. I can do whatever I want. I think that's kind of when he started. Because, before he was just, a child, without any money. Really without anything. And, of course, with the Rosebud that he lost.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff. So, and then he just got all this money and all this, and anything that he could want. And, that kind of makes him just not likable anymore or anything. Because, he buys, a castle in the end or something. Does he buy that?
He built it.
Oh, he built it. I thought he bought it.
No, he does.
And he was he buys everything, and
he buys more than he ever can even look at. Things never even come out of the crates.
Yeah, there's literally at the end when they're going through all his stuff, they just find a bunch of stuff that he's never ever taken out of the crate, and it's just he bought way too much, and he didn't really leave anything for the people that needed it. And did he ever give money to people or no? Help people charity or anything?
I think that it's
or did he ever do anything nice?
It's funny because he actually makes jokes about charity. It's actually instead he sees what he's doing as being as running the newspaper, and as he's trying to shape the world into his view. He sees that thing. He feels that as he feels that is charity.
But that's another thing is he uses his newspaper power to change everything. He uses his newspaper power to change what's going on. He can change it to whatever he wants. He can change it so then because he runs for office at some point in time, so he can change it to say that he's the better candidate and that everybody should vote for him, and he can just do it. And it's things that are one, they're not true, and that's really bad for everybody.
Because it's what do you call it when someone does
called
that?
Lying.
Or fake news.
Or fake news,
fake
I guess.
God.
But it's and he just changed it in his favor. And it just, that kind of makes him just like not likable anymore, because he just does everything so it's good for him, not necessarily good for everybody else.
It's very relevant,
It is
isn't
very
it?
relevant.
Why are all the movies that like why every time I say, like, in the last one there was something that was very relevant?
Jaws.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's a good it's a good point. Like, the thing is part of why a lot of these movies are, I mean, Kane is 80 years old, 75 years old, somewhere around there.
It came out 41,
Yeah.
so it's almost 80 years old.
Part of the reason why that movie works and like why it's lasted as long as it has is that it's sort of always relevant. Like, it always
timeless.
matters. Yeah.
It is time.
Because there will
It's
always
like they
be
could
people
see
like
to the
that.
future.
So one of the other things about the movie, and I'll let your mom will talk about it because she's more knowledgeable than I, is that there's a whole controversy about it because there was a real guy who
Named Charles Foster Kane, who
No.
died
No.
mouthing the word rosebud.
So it's sort of a. Do you want to give her? Do you think you can give the short version of the William Randolph Hearst side of it?
Yeah, well, so there was a gentleman named William Randolph Hearst, who inherited a lot of money and who did have this media empire. So the Hearst Corporation is still around. And so a lot of it was based on William Randolph Hearst. So not all of it, but there certainly are aspects. He did build a castle of sorts.
I was about to ask, did he build a castle?
He did build a castle. So
Did he collect rare art?
he did. And you know what? When this pandemic, so as we were watching Citizen Kane, I realized that, once we've moved past this and it's safe, we can go visit it because we can drive there. So it's not.
It is amazing.
It is amazing. Gosh, when your dad and I were very first dating, I think that was our first trip that we took together was to Hearst Castle.
I think I've heard of it before.
You've probably heard of Hearst Castle, and it's beautiful. It's more picturesque than the portrayal of Xanadu.
Yeah, I think I might have heard of it before and just thought of it as Hershey Castle.
No,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That's close to where I grew up.
Yeah, we'll go to Hershey,
That's
Pennsylvania
awesome.
at some point too. But so yeah, he did build a castle that was designed by a woman. Julia Morgan was the architect who designed it, and he did purchase artwork, and he would purchase rooms from like European castles and have them moved over. So there are ceilings from
wow.
European like villas and castles at Hearst Castle. So so he did do all of these things.
Was he a snotty jerk?
He was a strong-willed person.
Well, and he ran newspapers, and he had a very staunch political view that was like beyond what anybody was reporting, right? So when the reporting was against his beliefs, that wasn't reported. Like his beliefs were kind of layered on top of things. And that went, from news all the way down to the arts, like the arts reviews, the film critics. And so what would happen is if there were different, directors or actors or writers who upset him, and you'll see why this is relevant in a second, he would just essentially either give them like horrible reviews of their movies, or he would help to, perpetuate, bad rumors about them or nasty rumors. And he would sort of like, once he had his eye on you as trouble, he would go after you.
And there's the light bulb that just went off in my head.
Which, well, that's a whole other thing. But imagine making a movie that looks exactly like him. So that did not go well
when
for
he
Orson
was
Welles.
still around. No, and the other thing is, there's the character of Susan Alexander, and
Is that his?
that's the second wife.
Second
So that's the woman he starts dating while he's married, and then he tries to turn her into an opera singer. Well, William Randolph Hearst,
And she's like a terrible singer.
She's a terrible singer.
And since nobody wants to take her, he builds an opera house.
yeah, because he has that much money.
And then she gets so annoyed that he won't let her stop that she tries to kill herself.
So William Randolph Hearst, he was married, but he also did have a girlfriend on the side, and it was an actress named Marion Davies, who actually was a wonderful comedian, and she was a really good actress. But because so much of Citizen Kane kind of mirrored William Randolph Hearst, people over the years have always come to equate Susan, like the kind of talentless Susan Alexander, with Marion Davies.
Even though they're kind of opposites.
Which I don't, which
And
just
talent-wise, they're opposites.
with talent-wise, although I think Hearst always tried to put, have Davies be in these really kind of like grandiose dramatic roles, and she actually was a stronger comedian, but she wasn't talentless, and she was somebody who actually used her influence and her wealth for charity and for good. So there's actually a lot of qualities in her that are admirable, and it's unfortunate that that Susan Alexander has always been kind of considered to be a mirror of Marion Davies, just generally speaking, with people that don't really know.
So if you're listening, don't believe that that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think even Orson Welles later on, I mean, he said no, that Susan Alexander wasn't Marion Davies, and I think he did feel bad that a lot of people came to think that. Yeah, but. So, even though maybe the entire story was not a mirror of Hearst's life, the influence is certainly there. I mean, it certainly is apparent.
And then the other kind of interesting thing is that it actually, especially his childhood, is a direct mirror of Orson's childhood.
Really?
Yeah. So Orson, when he was a little boy, he was essentially sent on a world tour to just go see the world and experience it. And learn what it was. Yeah, like he didn't grow up with his family. He didn't grow up with his actual parents.
Well, I think they died. Oh my god, I think they died when he was younger. Well, when he was a teenager, though, he wasn't that young.
But so he had this sort of like, almost like circus-like life where he got to sort of dilly-dally with all of these things.
He was at a boarding school for a lot of the time.
And that's part of how he got to be a Renaissance man, where he could do everything that was put in front of him. But at the same time, he didn't have the sort of foundational home that would give him, the background that, that he really, kind of quietly wanted. And that was, if you watch all of his movies, it's always a theme. There's always this theme about like just wanting normality and having a family and having a family unit. And it's a thing that like he didn't have it as a kid. He didn't have it as a young adult. He didn't have it as an adult, and he didn't have it as an old man. Like he just never got it. And so for him, like when he would do interviews, he would say, when he was trying to not blame William Randolph Hearst, he'd always say it's actually inspired by me. And I think now looking backwards, like certainly a lot of it is the William Randolph Hearst stuff, but I think there is a lot to say about Orson, because Orson is a guy who always overpromised. He's a guy who, when things weren't going his way, he would just walk away. And so there was all these things about him that sort of feel weirdly almost like prescient in the movie, where Orson is actually writing about things that he will then do for the rest of his life without realizing it. And it's part of what I like. It's part of why I think the movie's kind of so fascinating, is because Orson, like Kane, walked into Hollywood with just a golden ticket to make the best, most amazing, important things of all time, and he made Kane and made this fantastic movie, and then spent the rest of his career, like, he made great movies, but everyone
we'll watch with you.
But everyone has a story. Like something went wrong or something happened, and because of the experience of making Kane, he kind of just threw up his hands on, all of them. Like, is there a single one? F for fake he made on his own.
Did he?
Fair enough. But so it's an interesting, because it's a blend. I feel like I've talked to you about it before. One of the things about being a writer that's sort of the actual challenging part, I think, is that when you write, you're actually writing about yourself. Like, you're writing from a very personal place. And it's hard to do that when you're writing about terrible people because you have to kind of have the ability to look into yourself and see those terrible things to really understand them. And I think that's part of why the movie is kind of so wonderful, is that he had those feelings of self-hatred and of, loathing that clearly Kane has for himself in the movie as well.
So, when it came out, Hearst wasn't thrilled, and he had
bad reviews written about it.
For his paper, yeah, he had there was a gossip columnist named Luella Parsons that was on his staff, and she back then, like, she had a lot of power, and so I think she wrote a lot of negative things about the movie. So it didn't go over as well. It didn't win Best Picture. Have you ever seen How Green Is My Valley?
Mm-mm.
I never have either. I think I was so bitter when I found out that it didn't win Best Picture.
It's like the Forrest Gump to Pulp Fiction.
It is.
It's that.
What?
Although
that
I've heard How Green Was My Valley is wonderful, but I've never actually
What?
watched it.
What just happened? Like, why did you just veer into?
God, we went somewhere. It's okay. You'll learn. You'll
Why
learn
did you
soon.
just go into some other movie?
You'll see.
now?
It's another thing that has
That also
Oh,
got cheated.
that is
Another
always,
movie that
the
was
thing that brought your dad and I close together early on.
So, as you've alluded to, Gable, and one of the things we talked about after we watched the movie was how similar Kane is to a certain orange gentleman and what's going on right now in our country. Do you want to talk about how you feel about that, or like what
No,
you kind of
you
saw in
get
it?
to do that.
No, we already talked a lot, and I think you can read my Twitter feed to see how liberal and angry I am. I want to see how liberal and angry you are, Gable.
But what was one of the parts
Are you gonna give me like a Twitter feed then or something?
Yes. I'll just take pictures of you. No, go on.
Wait, what were you saying? I'm sorry. You didn't get to finish.
what
your
were
question.
some of the parts that like reminded you? We went like wow, that's just kind of like what's happening now.
The newspaper?
What happens with the newspaper?
Is he like he and his wife, and his first wife, like she literally reads a different paper to spite him because his paper is just all stuff that's just fake. It's just fake news.
Yeah, but what about
Like
the
everything.
election?
And the election, that's what
The headlines?
Yeah, that's what happened was there's like there was on the news there's like fraud in Georgia or something.
Yeah, and in the movie they have like one newspaper ready to go that says Kane wins the election, and then they have the
one
other one
saying
ready to go.
Voter fraud.
Yeah, fraud at the polls.
Mass voter fraud.
Fraud at the polls.
Where that's what it was here was it was like they probably had like two banners ready like we won and terrible voter fraud at the polls. We need a re-election.
Well, they did that. I mean, that's the again, to look at Kane as sort of predictive. Like, that is literally like Trump had said for 4 years, like not even literally 4 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, has been saying that the only way that I don't get reelected is if there's voter fraud.
That's not
So,
true.
no, of course it's not true.
No,
It's
it's
insane.
not true.
It's definitely not true.
But like, that's the thing, is if you keep saying something is true long enough, then that's his argument. It's like, I told you there'd be voter fraud, and look, there's voter fraud.
Nobody can predict the future unless it's like this happens every single day or whatever. Unless you're living in Groundhog Day, then you can't predict the future.
Oh God, it's like January 19th. Is he gonna go? All Kane in the White House?
Maybe it's possible.
And one of the thing in that scene where he tears apart Susan Alexander's room after she leaves him, like, I've seen this movie so many times, and we watched it. We have a projector and a big screen in Josh's studio. So when we were watching it, when he's tearing up the room, he gets to the bookcase and he's like throwing all the books out, and he finds a hidden bottle of booze, which I'd never noticed that before, because she drank to numb.
I noticed like the second he pulled it out.
Yeah, I never noticed it before.
There's
No.
also like
Did you always like blink or something? Right?
I must have always blinked all
or like
those
looked
times.
away or something.
I must have.
there's also always this thing about like the way that he doubles down, right? That when she can't sing and everyone tells him she can't sing and therefore she will not be on the stage singing opera.
And then he just puts in the newspaper, Susan Alexander is a singing opera sensation. And everybody's just like, no, she is
And
not.
even when she's like lying in bed after she has tried to kill herself, he starts to say, no, you have to fight. You have to fight. Like,
so you can sing.
Yeah, or when he gets caught, having the affair with her, and and Geddes is like, dude, you're done. You need to stop. And he's like, no, I will not. So yeah, he just always just doubles down.
Another thing is when he's doing his campaign speech, and he says that he will lock up his opponent.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he
I
does.
just think
It's
I
weird.
didn't really notice that, and then you pointed it out to me.
Okay, now get ready for your mind to be blown. Would you like to know what one of Donald Trump's favorite movies of all time is?
What?
Citizen Kane.
Really?
It's mind-blowing, right?
Yeah,
And it's, the thing that, again, like, it's one of those things where you think about it, and what's interesting about the movie is that
it kind of portrays him.
well, no, it's not just that. It's that, I mean, yes, but what I was going to say is that, when you have normally in a movie, you have a protagonist and you have an antagonist,
Yeah.
right? The movie doesn't have a protagonist.
Really?
He's the
supposed-
main character, right?
But he's like the protagonist and the antagonist.
Sort of, but you don't really root for
He's
him.
like the
You're never like, come on, go do terrible things, you jerk.
and you're never just like boo, and you're not always just like boo, go away, you're terrible.
And there's a thing,
Which most of the time you are like.
There's a thing that
Then.
people do that you do now, and it was very popular in TV, over the past like decade or so that's been done, which is, the story of the anti-hero. Batman is actually a good example where Batman is always kind of dark and brooding, but, he's a good guy. We know he's a good guy,
What are you talking about?
He's gonna push too far.
Talking in his Batman
That's
voice.
how I wrote Batman comics. I know how he talks. But the thing is like, he's not an anti-hero. There's no like wink wink like, haha, he's delightful. Like, he is just a monster. But
Wait, you still talking about Batman, or are you talking about the movie
Kane,
now?
I'm talking about Kane.
I'm sorry.
Batman has a heart of
I have not
gold.
watched a lot of Batman.
Batman has a heart of gold, for God's sake. But the thing about Kane then is because the movie doesn't care about redeeming him, right?
You just want to find out what Rosebud means.
I don't even. It's more about. I think what the movie's about is it's about this idea of, like, what actually makes a person work. Like, there has to be. It's almost like this. And this is like a bigger issue. But like back then, you're coming out of, it was like the age of psychiatry had just happened, where they were doing these like very in-depth understanding of how people's minds worked. And so your grandpa is a psychiatrist, right? So he's, that's one of the things he does. And because of that, like, there was this very big focus on, analyzing why people are the way they are. And I think what's interesting about the movie is that it does that. And it never excuses him. Like, it never says, oh, but when he was a kid, they punished him and took away his sled. Like,
No, he left it behind because he was like pulled away from it.
but the damage that he had as a kid, the thing is that he was given like literally countless chances to fix it. This guy bought literally everything, and yet the thing he wanted, which he apparently bought because it's in his house.
What do you want?
Like, he got it. He got the thing he wanted. But guess what? It didn't make a difference.
Wait, what?
When they're
What?
burning stuff, think about
right.
it.
It's in his house.
It's in his collection of stuff.
Well, I think because he got all of his mom's stuff after she died. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, so he had the thing that, like, he thought was the key. Like, this is the explanation for why I am how I am, was sitting downstairs. And he didn't
Just
have...
sitting downstairs in the basement with the cartons and cartons of stuff that I never even looked at. I just bought it.
Yep.
I think that's what all those cartons labels should be. The cartons of stuff that I bought and never looked at.
I know my Anne Dvorak collection's going to get to that point where it's just unopened eBay packages.
So here's my question,
Shaking
Gable.
your head.
In a world of trying to convince other children of your age, and advice to give to their parents in order to try and convince them to watch the greatest movie of all time, which will sound like not a movie they want to see.
In my opinion, it's not the greatest movie of all time. That title belongs to Jaws and Harry Potter.
Which, all the Harry Potter collectively?
No, Harry Potter and Prisoner of Azkaban and Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. They're in the fifth.
Really? Better than Citizen Kane?
Yes.
Better than... You don't think you just like them more? You
No.
can't go to I like them more, although they are not actually better?
Because Citizen Kane isn't
don't
necessarily...
care.
Like, Citizen Kane is not my favorite movie, but I do think it's the best movie.
Yeah, I think that Jaws is... I think I like the Harry Potter ones the most, but I think Jaws is the best.
Jaws is a great movie.
How would you, to my question, if you were going to try and convince some of your friends or some other kids your age to watch Citizen Kane, what is your best sales pitch? Like, what would you say?
Like, should I say it like, this is what I would say, or should I say it like, this is what I'm doing?
Whatever you want.
I think that I would say that if they like mysteries, or they like stuff like that, like they like mysteries and they like excitement, then watch it, because it's really, there's like mysteries throughout it and you're just like, what the heck is Rosebud? If you like excitement, then you'll like that twist ending. If you don't, for some reason, if you don't really like excitement in movies and mysteries, then, because that'd be weird, because that's like what all movies are about. Like, they have at least a part that's mystery. So if you don't like some of those for some reason, then you probably wouldn't like it, but you should still watch it just to see, because like that's like what it was with Jaws. I don't really like horror movies or anything, but I loved it, so it could just be like, just watch it. Like, just watch it, even if you think you're not gonna like it, just watch it. Especially if you like mysteries.
Yeah.
Like Nancy Drew.
Yeah. Well, her reaction to the end was like, I think it's
literally an hour later. I was just like, oh my god, that's what Rosebud is.
Oh yeah, I think the rest of the night, it was one of my proudest moments as a parent so far.
Was for like 2 hours that night. I was just I went
to tuck you into bed, and you were still overwhelmed with the ending of Citizen Kane. It was pretty great.
It's funny because my favorite parenting moment was I took Gable when she was like 3 or 4 to a movie which shan't be named, but like one of the not Pixar or DreamWorks animated movies.
Disney?
Or Disney. I'm not going to say what it's called.
We're not going to say what it's called.
Inappropriate.
Yeah, we don't want to say bad things.
But we were sitting in the movie and like it starts and it is just god awful. And she leans over to me, this tiny child, and she goes, "Hey, Dad." And I go, "Yeah, babe." She goes, "This movie is terrible." And I went, "I know." And she goes, "Can we leave?"
Really?
And I went, "Yes, we can." And we like ran out of there. I think I took her for candy. We went to the got some more candy. I think I went and bought her some Lego. We really just enjoyed ourselves. We got ourselves out of there. That was my proudest when I was like, "Oh, she has taste." And anytime somebody says, "Oh, the movies my kid loves," and they say that movie, I'm like, "You poor bastards. You poor bastards." So what kind of movie do you think you want to do next?
Christmas.
A Christmas. Don't you say Black Christmas.
Black Christmas.
Don't you say Black Christmas.
Oh, Gable. It's a movie by the director of A Christmas Story.
Oh gosh,
which is the movie about the leg lamp called Black Christmas.
Oh.
You've seen that movie. You've seen Christmas Story. God, and she saw It's a Wonderful Life already. We watched it last year.
There's like one Christmas movie that I know I've seen, but I don't really remember it, and it's Home Alone. Because I watched it on an airplane.
Oh, that's right. You did watch Home Alone.
I watched it on an airplane at like 11 o'clock at night, so I don't remember it. I watched it like 2 years ago, so I don't remember it. I
think we have probably like a couple minutes. We saw other movies the past couple weeks, right? That are not your traditional child fare. So what if we go through them? Well, let's see. We saw Big, starring Tom Hanks. What did you think? What did you think about that?
I liked it. I had to miss a few scenes because I had to go to the bathroom, but I was fine with that. But I liked it.
So we did that.
Oh, didn't we watch? We've been slowly making our way through the Joan Blundell movies on the Criterion channel, which we need to get through before the end of the month. I think we watched Big City Blues.
I think that's what it was called.
Yeah. Did you like that one?
Yeah.
That one was
all right. I liked one of the other. I liked two of the other. I like one, two. I don't know, whichever one of the other ones that we watched.
I think you liked Footlight Parade.
I liked Footlight Parade, and I liked Three on a Match.
Yeah, Three on a Match is amazing.
The ending was a bit.
Yeah. I feel like we need to do 3 episodes on Three on a Match. Who's
episodes?
Who's in Three on a Match besides Joan Blundell?
And Dvorak.
Who?
And Dvorak on Mr. Gone Rebel. In your opinion?
Available now.
Available now.
Available now. It's been available for a few years.
It has been available. That is my book, Anne Dvorak, Hollywood's Forgotten Rebel.
I mean, we literally have a giant
And
Anne
we
Dvorak
finally-
poster behind us.
You do. I'm surprised. That was the first Anne Dvorak movie you've seen. I'm surprised it took me that long to show you.
Yeah,
a
I totally
movie.
thought that I watched like a million other ones or something.
No. You saw like The Strange Love of Molly Louvain when we were in Chicago when you were like 3. I think.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and then we started watching The Crowd Roars with Joan Blundell and Anne Dvorak and James Cagney, but we need to go back and revisit that one.
Yeah, because then we got ice cream and didn't finish watching it.
Is that why we stopped? I guess that's the only reason why I would stop watching an Anne Dvorak movie is for ice cream.
For ice cream.
Yeah.
Ice cream and chocolate.
Yeah.
So that pretty much wraps us up for this episode. If you have a suggestion for a movie you would like us to show to my daughter, please go ahead and email it to us at suggestions@littlemissmovies.com, or you can tweet it at us at LilMissMovies on Twitter. You can also visit us online at littlemissmovies.com. We would love it if you subscribed and reviewed us on wherever you listen. So we're on Spotify and iTunes and whoever else has podcasts. I think like your fridge might have podcasts now. Various places. I mean, they're everywhere. They're genuinely everywhere. So yeah, give us a look. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. The Little Miss Movies podcast is hosted by Christina Rice, Gable Fialkov, and me, Josh Fialkov. We're recorded, mixed, and produced in North Hollywood, California. Series art by Gabo. Episode art by Gable Fialkov. Theme song by Giddy and the V's. There's a lot of people with G's in their names. All contents copyright 2020, Gloria Shines Inc. Visit us online for more at littlemissmovies.com.